What a morning! All right, welcome. Ryan, is that your friend or mine?
It's your friend.
Oh.
uh,
Yeah.
Ryan is he's a huge part of Bloom Community's Bloomfest, and he's currently in my house on location downstairs.
Nice. On Monday we had I had a friend of mine, Alejandro, and he brought his girlfriend on. And I saw her, and I'm thinking, who is this? I didn't invite her. And then it was him. He brought her. And then there was an echo coming from her phone. Why? Like, your phone is echoing. Can you fix that? And then it turns out, like, so he brought her, and they were in the same room on different phones. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we got a great topic for today. Welcome to the experience of me. This is I got a really interesting topic that I've been researching, and so basically it goes like this. We'll have a few more people joining. I think one or two, maybe three. We'll see. Wednesdays is the slow day usually. So welcome everybody. We're diving into mentalism, not just as entertainment, but as a tool for breakthrough. Tony Robbins says everything is psychology. And in the Kabbalion, it says all is mind. It's basically the same thing. So what is this? Your life doesn't respond to reality. It responds to your perception. All is mind is mentality. And so perception is pattern. So mentalism is the art of recognizing these patterns, not just in others, but in yourself. So let me show you something. So if you pick a multiple of 9, for example, here's a pattern, and you multiply it by anything, like 9 times 7 or 9 times 8, then you get 81. Then those two numbers add up to 9 if you put them together. If you multiply 9 times 7, then you get 63. 6 plus 3 equals 9. It's a pattern. It's like a trick. There's also, if you have any number, any 3-digit number that's the same, like 333, 444, and you multiply it by 3, then those multiples will also add up to 9 if you add up the numbers in the thing. That's like, it's like a thing where I'm not sure exactly what is behind that pattern, but the point here is that there are these patterns that we recognize, and they're not just in numbers. Welcome, Sasha.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. This is Bilinda and Ryan.
Hi guys, how are you?
Yes. So
No, you're not doing the hair today, but your hair looks amazing.
Thank you so much.
it does. It looked like she's shining too, like a lighthouse.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Wow. So Sasha, I'm just gonna repeat it really quick. So today we're talking about mentalism. Tony Robbins says that everything is psychology, and the Kabbalion and the Hermetic philosophy is the same concept. Like thousands of years ago, they were saying all is mind. So today we're going to be talking about the principle of mentalism applied not just as a trick, but as a way to have breakthroughs and recognizing that life is all about patterns. So let's say that so life doesn't respond to reality, it responds to your perception. And perception is pattern. So mentalism is the art of recognizing these patterns, not just in others, but in yourself. So I was telling Bilinda and Ryan an example of with the number 9. If you multiply it times anything, you add up the numbers and it adds back to 9. So in the same thing, if you have a 3-digit number, then you take that, like, as long as the 3 numbers are the same, like 333, 444, and you multiply it by 3, then those numbers also add up to 9. You can do the exercise yourself as well. And the point is not that I know like what the fuck like these numbers mean or like what the wisdom is behind it. But the point mine is like there are these patterns and we need to recognize them. And just how there are these patterns in math, we also have these patterns in our life. And where I tie this back to is like, let's say Tony Robbins, for example, the reason he's able to break through and do these interventions so awesomely is by knowing patterns that people have and learning. He creates frameworks and then he goes back and forth and then he figures out based on the framework and where people are on the pattern, and he has like this intervention and the people go like, what the hell, how'd you say that, how'd you do that? But it's just recognizing patterns and knowing how to use it, having like that thing. So thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts?
Yeah, thoughts. Belinda, you, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm a life coach myself, and a lot of the coaching that I do is, first of all, I've had a life coach with the Tony Robbins administration for a few years, and I learned a lot from her. In addition to that, I'm also certified as a life coach. So you're absolutely right. People have patterns, and most of these patterns, they do them through stories that they tell themselves. It's kind of like they're putting themselves under a spell. Like if someone's like, oh, I'm depressed, it's like you're putting yourself under a spell. You have to recognize, okay, so this is a pattern that the person has, and like you say, the framework that's going to help them dehypnotize them from the spell they put themselves under, or just help them.
Yes. Belinda, thoughts.
So as far as recognizing patterns, it's definitely a practice. You can see it a lot in other people, and when you get to really look at your own pattern, it makes it even easier to see it. When you're looking at your own patterns and actually owning it and making changes around it, training to do this work, even if you don't want to be a coach or a mentor, it's fantastic to go through training. I went through my training with Willard for like a few years for NAP and NLP and different things. And that was the thing that I loved most about it, is cracking ourselves open wide. Speaking of eggs, Ryan. Inside morning joke. So I think that when we do that, we open up ourselves, and then we can really help people even more, because we've actually done the work. We've gone through the recognizing of our own patterns, which I think is more challenging than looking at somebody else. Because we can easily point the finger like, oh, that person really needs to work on that. And that usually means we really need to work on that. So, and it's a work in progress, right? No perfect.
Wow. Ryan, thoughts. Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. First time, everybody. Right up my alley. Patterns are super fascinating. I see it like a clock. Like there's big patterns, like I'm depressed is a pattern that I repeat, but there's so many smaller patterns, kind of like the root of a tree, that once you get to the final root and you interrupt that pattern and you change meaning to it, everything else changes. So there's always another level to go to. And I just feel so excited and feel so grateful. Not when I'm depressed or freaking angry, but like I know there's something else that I get to learn from this, another lesson, So, and when you were saying Tony doing the intervention, just to become a master at the tool of listening and recognizing what they're doing with their body and everything else, and the power of question, the power of the pattern of question. I'm learning from Richard Bandler right now. Not thinking just by remembering past experiences, but in those patterns, but thinking objectively and asking those questions to chop up the patterns. Cool.
Wow. And then to touch on your point, Belinda, you were talking about how using this knowledge for ourselves. Now, I think there's the tricky part. And I don't know about you, but for me, this is the toughest part, because I can help somebody else all day, but then sometimes when it comes to me, I don't know what I don't know. So then I wind up staying in this loop, or just like keep doing the same things until I get a coach or somebody who intervenes and tells me, hey, like you're fucking up in this area and da da da. And that's when I'm like, oh shit. And sometimes I fight it and I'm like, wait, what? What are you saying? Like, why are you attacking me? Like da 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 da. So, and I tie this to a framework that I learned in network marketing, which is like, they talk about building an organization. And they say like, first you get your 5, and then you help those 5 get your 5. Once you get 30, then that's when you made it. Because now after 30, you can duplicate. But then he says, the hardest thing to do is to become core yourself. Like to do the activity yourself. And then before you do that, when you do that, then you can start attracting people who also do the activity that needs to be done, and then you can help those others. But the hardest thing is to become core yourself. And I think we can apply this to pretty much anything.
For me, I know that when I was training, I was at my personal best. Like those years of diving in and really digging and finding out, what do I need to change here? Where do I get to change here? And exploring all those different parts of myself and showing up better because I just did the work. And then I started with the 5, and then started with more and more, and then had programs with groups of people. And then I found that, then you say, I'm busy. I'm really busy. I don't have time to continue to do those things, continue to work. And it is a continuous work. You cannot stop and think, yeah, I already did that work on myself. I'm good. The old patterns show up. Right now in my house, there are old patterns showing up. Jeff's a contractor. If he's not doing the work and I'm not doing the work, he goes, and forgive me if you're a contractor, he goes to like the New York contractor patterns, and we were talking about it, and he's like, I've been working a lot as a contractor the past couple weeks. I see things showing up. I'm like, oh yeah, I see it too. He's in Florida right now. I talked to him this morning. He's like, hello, sweetheart. I love you so much. He's like, flags. I'm like, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. I want him to come back here. And it requires work, both of us, not just one of us. Because I could sit there and be like, oh, he's showing up like a contractor. He's being a dick. I am also, when he shows up like that, in the past, even if it was like, 30 minutes ago, I had been showing up like in response to whatever he's doing to me. He's triggering me. He's pointing fingers. He's pushing buttons, and I'm reacting to that. There's no such thing as triggers. If somebody's triggering you, it means you need to do some work on yourself. But you don't need to get rid of that person. You don't need to get rid of the trigger. You want the trigger. You want people that are going to trigger you and cause you to do work.
That's triggering.
Sometimes. That's triggering.
That's Ryan, Sasha, thoughts?
So basically, continuing on what Bilinda said, it's definitely like a daily practice. It's not like a one-off where you do it for a month or so. It's a daily practice. So I noticed when I stop working on myself, I go back to the old patterns, or I go back to something I don't need to be in. So what I have been doing lately is priming. So on YouTube, Tony Robbins has a priming video that I do every morning. In addition to that, I meditate for like a good 10 minutes. And for me, that sets me up like throughout the day. And the priming video specifically is so important because you're basically telling your mind that this is what I'm going to choose to focus on, and that's it. Because your mind is basically, it's like a child that needs to be trained, and you have to like be the parent and say, this is what you focus on, not this, or focus on this, and it will listen to you. So definitely that's important. And in addition to that, as a coach, in order to help other people, I have to help myself. And that's a part of it. I used to suffer from extreme social anxiety and like chronic depression, like for, I would say about 85% of my life. And it was bad. It was really bad. It took a lot of shadow work. It took a lot. And because I'm coming from that place, like I no longer have those things. Like I can't even identify with that person anymore. But when I had it, it was real. So when I see it in other people now, it's like, ooh, I recognize an old version of myself. How do we get you from point A?
Wow. Ryan, thoughts?
Yeah, I noticed when I put a pause on working myself, it's never intentional. I'm like, I'm not going to work on myself for a week. Just so many things happen. And I go into, obviously, my old patterns like everybody else, but I do notice pretty quickly now, maybe it's a level thing, I'm level 37 right now. I mean, it's just through experience and wisdom. Like,
wait, hold on, what are these levels?
Do it, yeah. Nobody wants to know that I'm old. Like, that's...
Oh, you're talking... Bilinda does the same thing. I was like, what? Like...
He taught me about the levels. I'm level 52.
And it's kind of like a game. It's like somebody that says, oh, I'm 57 or I'm 87. I get this like jealousy. I'm like, you know so much about life. I cannot wait till I'm 95, you know? Give me that walker, baby. Let's go.
Oh my God. I love that. That's a great reframe. Tell me more.
Yeah, definitely. So, and maybe it is just being level 37, but I do notice patterns that are for me, so extremely heavy. And I get into victim, melancholy, depression, or the other side of the crazy eight, severe anger. And it's like, let's go remember some eternal truths and some principles. And remember, I'm only here probably another 43 years. That's when my contract's up. And so then let's relax. Let's remember what's really important and help people remember that they're loved. That's what I
love that, man. I love that, man. And we have about 4,000 weeks of life, and that's about 28,000 days. That's the average. You know, maybe with with Elon Musk, doing the cyborg implants and stuff, we may get to live longer, and with advances in medicine. But for now, it's gonna be about 28,000 days or 4,000 weeks. So you can average out how old you are right now or what level you're in, and then subtract that from like 4,000 weeks or 28,000 days. Here are some examples here of like the emotional patterns. Like, I just got a little. Hey, Malisha, welcome. So, falling for emotionally unavailable people again and again, getting close to success and self-sabotaging, repeating the same fight in every relationship, feeling unworthy no matter how much you achieve, always needing internal validation to feel okay, money pattern, making money fast and losing it just as fast, living paycheck to paycheck despite higher income, undervaluing yourself in business or work, attracting financial emergencies and keeping you in scarcity, feeling guilt or fear when receiving abundance. Then just a couple here for mental: overthinking decisions and never taking action, negative self-talk that plays like a broken record, behavioral patterns, quitting things right before the breakthrough, avoiding hard conversations and choosing silence. Did any of these hit you? And how do you deal with it? Go ahead.
Absolutely. The first thing you said, emotionally unavailable people. That one just like hit. Because I'm going to say the older version of me used to try to build people up in relationships, because that's how I found value. That's how I felt about myself. That's how I wanted to give value. But then after a while, it was like, damn, this is hard, and sometimes that it's not reciprocated. So you're adding value and you're putting into so much and pouring into someone and their potential, and they're not giving back what you're pouring in. It's actually draining you, and you're not pouring into yourself. So once I realized that it was hurting me, I was like, stop that shit. Now, how about I either find someone that is already pouring into themselves and they can pour into me and I can pour into them and it's reciprocal. That shit's hard.
Belinda, you look like you get thinking of something interesting.
Oh no, I'm paying attention. I was putting on my listening hat.
Oh shit, okay.
I'm listening. I'm going in.
Okay, Ryan, thoughts?
I need more time to think.
Okay, go ahead. So Malisha, let me just recap for you real quick. So Tony Robbins says everything is psychology, and in the Kabbalion, like the old Hermetic philosophy, they say that all is mind. So it's basically the same concept that I think Tony repackaged for his presentation. But two sides are the same truth. Your life doesn't respond to reality; it responds to your perception, and perception is pattern. Mentalism is the art of recognizing those patterns, not just in other, but in yourself. And the topic of today is mentalism. So the two examples that I gave was the number 9. The number 9, if you of a pattern. So you have the number 9 times any number, like 8 is 81, and you add those two digits together, you get a 9 again. If you get 9 times 6, what is it? 54. 54, 5 plus 4 equals 9. It's a pattern. So that's the analogy. And then the point is, I think you came in like right after this when we were talking about this. We were tying these number patterns and math to actual emotional psychology patterns that we repeat in our life, which these loops that we keep repeating over time. And that's what the examples were. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Let me think about that for a few, because I could relate definitely Sasha, and what she was saying is that, sometimes we go into relationships and we fall into the same patterns and we don't understand why or how. And last week we spoke about, how I wrote a book, and it was based on my life with my ex-husband. He was 10 years older, super manipulative, and so much, I don't know, I guess from his childhood, you wonder. And again, I never experienced domestic violence or abuse of verbal abuse, because my parents were always so very quiet. If they had a disagreement, they would go to another room, they would take it outside. So I was never around that. So I always wondered why I fell into a pattern of domestic violence, and it was pretty scary because, I had children at the time, and I still do. They're older now. I have a 30-year-old, a 26-year-old, and soon to be 23-year-old. And, It took me years to heal. I also have a blog that I write weekly or, sometimes daily or every other day. And at the age of 39, I met the love of my life, who was my best friend. And I didn't know what a true relationship was until I found someone that gave me actual balance. I always say or hear, I'm looking for someone to complete me. And I feel like as a coach, because I'm also a licensed coach, I feel like that word should not be used. You don't need another person to complete you. You complete yourself. And with that being said, I found someone to balance me and teach me patience. And, I guess I'll leave it at that.
Wow. Okay. All right. Did you guys have enough time to think?
Yeah. I definitely, when you were sharing that about relationships, it triggered the thought, we don't attract what we want, we attract what we are. And thinking about that and patterns and how I show up with all the relationships in my life and the ones that I get to let go of even after 14 years of deep friendships. It's like a beautiful rebirthing process, as painful as it could be. Such a step-by-step personal journey to be on in a relationship. And I keep thinking, like, would I date myself? Would I marry myself right now? Some days are like, let's go, baby. Let's elope to Vegas. Let's do this. And some other days like, no, I don't even want to talk. So let's connect tomorrow. But yeah, it is.
Wow. And you mentioned like get into the root and then changing it. What does that look like?
Yeah. So I think that is. I think there's some common pattern that can help you trace down to the root pretty quickly. Starting with, the area of life, like say relationship, for an example, and what it is that you're really wanting and getting clear on that and seeing what's preventing you from getting there. And that part can take a minute, but asking the right questions and getting feedback on what is it that is preventing, is it a you thing? Is it a location thing? Or is it a fear? Because on the other side of the deepest fear that we're choosing or ignoring to recognize is where the answer is, from my experience. It's where that freedom is, that your soul is freaking craving at such a strong level. Otherwise, you wouldn't work on it. But the louder the fear, that love that we all absolutely need, that we'll get to at some point. But when we get there, it's like that fear just doesn't matter anymore, But it's like, brain, you were trying to protect me from what? But it has nothing to do with the actual relationship itself. It had to do with something your mom told you, or that your dad told you, that happened in your inner tribe, that your brain said, hell no, staying away from that. And now we're stepping into love, baby, no matter what the freaking cost is. And all done by questions, being kind, loving to yourself, and giving yourself time to integrate and let go of the old identity.
Which ties it back to Bilinda. You mentioned triggers. Let's talk about triggers. Tell me, what did you mean when you say you have a relationship, like you haven't said anything personal, but like a trigger? Oh, you can, it's up to you, but
I'm not shy.
like what's an example of a trigger that let's say and then how do you deal with a trigger when it comes up?
So this is interesting, and Ryan, I'm an open book because that's the only way we learn and we can teach by our stories. So Ryan has been here for the past week. And so he's experiencing Jeff and I in real time. And so something that in the past would totally, it's not like I'm not getting triggered now, and I really don't like that word, but of course something's happening to me. Jeff is he'll say something in a tone or not in the tone that I want or not the response that I want, and whatever the story is. And I'm experiencing a reaction. I do not react, though. Just because my body is experiencing a reaction, my mind is experiencing a reaction. I've learned, because we used to be so much fun to be around. We would bicker all the time. And so now, if I'm in that place where I'm ready to respond, which is like attack, that in the past was attack, I just say, okay, we're not going to go there. We're not going to have this conversation now. I'll talk to you later. And Brian's like, I don't understand why you're having an all-out brawl right now. And Ryan, feel free to explain more of what I'm saying, but I've learned, and it's not perfect, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah, yesterday we were just running errands, driving around, and how they end conversations, and it's healthy and it works for them. It's like, okay, thank you, and I'm hanging up now. Okay, love you, bye. And then they hang up, and my inner child's like, whoa, we're about to see some storms show up here. And then they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. And if somebody did that to me right now, I'd be like, you did what? In the middle of a conversation, you didn't work, And that's just, I was like, holy cow, I got a lot to learn when it comes to that level of wisdom in a relationship. So it's super cool, and it's also like, what? It's like, holy cow, it's a reality TV show.
Learning to disengage. Like before, there would be no hanging up. Ryan, you would not have liked those moments, because now you'd be trapped in a car on speaker with two people just going at it because one's trying to prove the other one wrong. And instead, I know now, and we're both good with it. I don't just click the phone. I say, you know what? This is not working right now. I'll talk to you later. Love you so much. I'm going to hang up now. And we know it's not just, hey, did I just get disconnected? That used to be the old days. 100 times I can hang up on him. He'll call back every time. Look how powerful I am.
Whoa. That gives me like, wow, that's crazy, because when I started dealing with like high performing people, like your husband, like they have they have this way about him, right? Like, you know, I have my friend Oscar, right? He's like this PhD dude in like Miami and stuff, and like he's like, oh, and then he's like, he'll just hang up on you because he's busy. Like he's taking like maybe 10 or 15 minutes of his time to connect, and then he's got to get back to work. And at first I was offended by those things, but then I started learning, okay, well, he cares about me. This person cares about me. It's not like a disrespect. Like that's not their intention at all. They're just like, they're taking some time to connect with me, and so am I with people. But then when I notice when I do it with people, like they take it very disrespectfully. They're like, whoa, how could you hang up on me? Da 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 da. And I'm like, dude, like I'm just like, I'm busy. Like I'm doing stuff. And then like I spoke to you, I asked you a question, you said no, or whatever, da da da, whatever conversation, if it was good or bad. Okay, I gotta go. Like you said, this is not working right now, or like, I just gotta go, like whatever. And then I'll talk to you later. But I'll talk to you next week or whatever. Like it's not a big deal for me. But then I've had texts back sometimes where people are like, that is so disrespectful. How could you hang up on me? And I'm like, what is this? Like, but I get it.
I was gonna tell you.
Go ahead.
Ryan, I have permission, Ryan. Ryan says. So ask Ryan about when I was pushing his buttons and triggered him. And we were in like a big argument, and we didn't talk for, I think, a year, except I didn't even know about it.
Ryan, can you please tell the story of how the buttons were pushed?
Yeah, so that version of Ryan was super fascinating, right? Yeah, I'll go back to him. So he used to be really passive aggressive and not really share when he was mad because of the fear, some deep fears that somebody would commit suicide. That was like the old trigger. Like, if you talk back to me, get mad, then I'm ending my life. And I applied that to everybody. So don't speak unless you're spoken to. And so when I'm triggered, like, I dare not, talk. So we were talking about money. And of course, at that time, I was triggered, and I was feeling like, you don't know the shit I've been through, blah, 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 in my head. And so I was like, hey, thank you so much for your opinions. I appreciate you. I respect you. I'll talk to you later. And we ended the convo, and I'm like, I'm never talking to her again. And like 6 months went by, and we connected here or there. And then it wasn't even until a few months ago, I was like, you do know I was mad at you for like 6 months, right? And she's like, what are you talking about? I had no idea. And I was like, remember when I was like nearly homeless and you were talking to me about money? She's like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, And then I shared with her a little bit more of the in-depth crazy stuff. And she's like, wow, thank you for sharing that now. But it is, I don't know why we're sharing.
Story, but it's really interesting. That's the story. It was the other story of when I said, can you put us on the schedule? Because I'm super busy. So even my friends, I'll be like, listen, I want to spend like an hour with you. Go to my calendar, put us in for an hour. And he had a story.
I actually think that may have been how it was pretty close in between there. She's like, go schedule an appointment with us. I was like, who the bleep do you think you are telling me to schedule? And then she was like, I'm really busy, I can't do it, let's reschedule. I'm like, okay, I'm loving right now, we'll reschedule. But then I would be passive aggressive, but I'd be like, I'll talk to you in 2 months. So I'd schedule it for like during the summer or during the fall. It's like, what's this? I'm like, you want us to reschedule a game with me? We'll schedule it. We'll just talk 2 months from now. Take that.
I don't even know this is happening. I have no idea any of this is going on.
Yeah.
I've done that too. I've done that too many times. I'm pretty familiar with that pattern. And it's like, let's say if I meet somebody and I like them, and then like then she's like says something like brushes me off or whatever, I'd be like, all right, cool, I'll talk to you next year. You know, like, because it's like, okay, you hurt my feelings, I'm gonna hurt your feelings. Like, I'm not gonna put up with that. But yeah, okay, so awareness doesn't start with why. It starts with what's repeating. You don't need to know why yet. You just need to notice what keeps happening. How do I usually feel before it happens? What decision or reaction do I keep falling into? Awareness begins with observation, not explanation. You're not here to solve the pattern. You're here to see it. And once you see it clearly enough, the why reveals itself. It's like watching the same scene in a movie over and over, and it feels random, but once you zoom out, you realize you've seen this before. You're no longer inside the scene. You're directing it. And this reminds me of this book. I don't know if you guys have read it, called The Untethered Soul. Yeah, it's a powerful book.
Michael Singer, awesome.
Yes, it talks about how the voice in your head, and then you may be saying, what's that voice in my head? And then I don't have a voice in my head, but then that's that voice that's saying what you don't have. That voice in your head, that's it right there. Like, whatever you're thinking right now, that's the voice in your head. And it talks sometimes, even when you don't want it to, and sometimes you want it to shut up at night, and it doesn't. So Michael Singer talks about becoming the witness, and it kind of ties back to this. It's like, instead of like trying to shut it up or change it, you just become the witness and observe the voice, observe, like, so thoughts. Let's hear some thoughts on that.
So there's a pattern that was showing up for so many years in my life around friendship. Of course, there were also relationship patterns, but that's different. But friendships, what was happening in the past is there would be a few different types of friendships. So there would be the completely unhealthy relationship that they were like friends that basically live with you and you're in a relationship with them that's supposed to be, for your significant other. Like they're spending so much time in your home that it's unhealthy. If you've seen Firefly Lane, the friendship is pretty unhealthy, except we all adored it. And then there would be the friendships, they would never really be the person to call and invite me anywhere. I was always the person calling and inviting them. I recognized the pattern was I was in the place of desperation, loneliness, feeling like I could never really find the right friendships. And now I know it's because the friendships that I really truly wanted were friendships like what I'm experiencing with all of you. I love having these conversations, fun for me. And the people that I invited into my life or attracted into my life before, they would not do this work. They think this is strange. Best friend for the past 30-something years, she didn't come to Bloomfest. It kind of stung a little.
How dare her, that bitch!
15 minutes from here. She doesn't do this work. She doesn't do this work. And so for me, and there's different friends for different
That's
things.
no excuse, Bilinda. She should have gone. She's your friend.
I know. So, and it hurt. It hurt that she didn't go. But her values are different. I was talking to different people about that, saying, would you go? Would you show up for this person? And that was actually a topic of discussion. And so I still see these types of friends that show up that they're like, oh, we want to have this deep connection. I love you so much. I think that you're amazing. And then they aren't showing up. So what that gives me the opportunity is they're not showing up. I'm like, oh, I got these fingers right here pointing back at me. Where am I not showing up in friendships? And then also, where am I accepting this? I was accepting for so long because it was like a desperation of not wanting to be lonely and thinking also, I thought there was something wrong with me. Like, why don't I find average conversation interesting? Why don't I want to talk about shopping and my nails and fashion and things like that? Why isn't that like my favorite conversation? I'm a woman. Aren't I supposed to love that? So it was when I stopped accepting those friendships and started saying, no, I want more. And if someone's not going to be a similar type of friend, they're not going to ever invite me, then I don't need to continue to cultivate that relationship. What kind of friendships do I want to cultivate? And this year, we celebrated my birthday last week, and they were all singing to me, and I was getting ready to blow out the candles, and I was like, I don't even have to make a wish right now, because all the people that were in front of me, the chills, they were what I wished for. Like, these were deep friends that we have wonderful times together. We get together and we play games, and we're having, deep, meaningful conversations when we're playing the games and we're crying. That's the games we're playing. And those are the friends friends that I want. So I cultivated and attracted my tribe, and it's fascinating and amazing. I know I was all over the place, but
No, that's perfect. I mean, I felt it. Sasha.
Yes, hey, so I definitely can relate to Belinda, dealing with loneliness. That's a part of where the social anxiety came from too. Loneliness most of my life, and being in desperation mode when it came for friends. So trying to hang out with people that didn't necessarily match my vibe or my energy just to be included in something. Yeah, that was a major portion of my life. What I really wanted to talk about though was a trigger. It actually happened recently. As a coach, I've learned to be composed and compose myself, because when people tell you their stories and whatnot, a lot of things it can really mess you up. But there is a certain family member that is just very negative, toxic, I'd like to say. And that is one person that can get me out of my element, get me out of my mode, and has me just I match the energy. And I hate that I do that. I hate that it happens. It gets me every time. And I'm working on it, but it is hard because it's a pattern that's been going on for years. Because this is a person that, you ever met someone that they thrive on just negative energy, and they just, everything could be calm, everything could be fine, and they just want to bring drama and energy. That's this person. And that is the one person that can get me out of my element. And everybody else, matter of fact, we had a huge argument a couple of days ago, and it was really bad. But after the argument, I calmed myself and I was let me just go give them a hug. But yeah. But
wow, Belinda, I feel like you were just talking about something similar.
So I can definitely relate, and it still happens, and it's all a practice. What's great about the people that do this is, one, it gives us the opportunity. Oh, cool! They're triggering me. I can work on whatever this is in myself. And it's not working at it in the moment. If we wait till the moment that happens, we're so far in. So it's practicing. Going in the morning, taking 3 minutes to practice. Okay, let's bring myself back to that state, back to that moment with that person. How is it that I wanted to act instead of react? And practicing it over and over and over, doing it, 3 minutes a day, and then when it shows up, you've already practiced in private what's going to show up in public. Because by the time you're in it with the person, and then also a great pattern interrupt, because of course, these people take you off guard, and you're oh my God, but this person, you know this is coming. Fantastic. Most people that are into drama, and most humans, they love to talk about themselves. So a great pattern interrupt is they're talking about the drama, and I don't know if it's a male or a female. Remember something that they love to do, or they love about themselves, or anything like that. And you can say, hey, I love this story, and I just wanted to tell you, I love blah, blah, blah. I love this outfit that you're wearing. Your hair looks amazing. Are you still golfing? And you can keep pattern interrupting, and you can keep doing it. And they're going to try, maybe even go back to that conversation. And after a few times, they might even say, I'm trying to tell this story, and you're just not letting me. And you could be
you're making it so hard for me to be negative right now. It's so hard. I just can't be negative with you anymore. Ah! No, that's gold, Belinda. That's gold. That's literal gold right there, because it's like that rehearsal, right? People, if you're a salesperson, for example, you have to rehearse your pitch, But this is a different type of rehearsal where you rehearse what you're gonna do when the trigger happens. And then now you don't have to worry about it freaking you out or getting you out of control, because once you feel it coming, then you can say, okay, I have a process already that I'm gonna do to either break their pattern and to break my own pattern as well. That's gold. Thank you. That's great. Wow, Ryan?
Yeah, I definitely have some cool, fun thoughts that I want to share with you. And feel free to pick it up like a purse. And if it's not your style or fit, just toss it to the other side of the Nordstrom track. Yeah, definitely. I think only masters really work with family members and try to learn. It is so incredibly challenging. And you learn the most about yourself, and it's because you care so much. I can tell you're such a loving, caring, goddess, soul, powerful human being. I remember that, I'm a master because I'm working with this family member or whatever it is. And one question that I was reminded the other day of, what did this person agree to teach? If we're going to go to God's perspective, maybe we're before this life, and hey, I'm going to teach you this at this time, and you're going to teach me this. Maybe I won't be able to receive it It's going to be challenging, but if we agree to that, so, what's my stepdad agreeing to teach me? A lot of things, but what did they agree to teach me? And something I heard from Dr. Wayne Dyer years ago was a lady approached him because her husband was an alcoholic, and she was trying to get him to change. And he said, whoa, wait, acting like how he should. Alcoholics act how alcoholics act, and you expect anything different from this. Not going to be helpful. They have to be the one that wants to change and be willing to change. You get to hold that space for them when they feel ready to change. And I think we might be Tony Robbins fans here, but we can definitely influence and to hold space, and they want to remember that they're loved. They feel that warm you, which I have this hallucination. Amazing job of that, Sasha. So
wow, that's powerful. Love your family, pick your peer group, right? Wow. Malisha, thoughts? Or if she's, I think she's muted. You're muted, Malisha. Okay, never mind. Okay. So we got some technical difficulties over there. God's perspective, I love that. Teach me this if we agree to. What I get from that is contract. I was talking to my friend, and we were talking about contracts, and like I have people that I bring into my life sometimes, and then like they have, we have disagreements, and then there's like this disappointment of expectations. Like they expect something. I've learned to not expect anything from people, or like I expect but I forgive. But there's people that don't know how to forgive yet, so it's like if they expect something from me, then I'm like, I gotta learn to put a boundary there, because I'm like, I didn't promise you that. And then it comes down to like, if we were in business, for example, we would have to sign a contract before we get into business. It's like you said, like, teach me if we agree to, like, what agreeing to something and putting it on paper, that's a contract. So pretty much like having contracts with people, I think that's the best way to do not only business but also relationships. A prenup, for example, like what's a prenup? Like we're agreeing for this and this and this, and then this is what's gonna happen if it doesn't work out, so. And then also trust people, but only trust them to be themselves. So, because like you can't trust somebody to be something other than what they've proven you that they're gonna be. Asinine and stupid to trust somebody to be somebody that they're not. It sounds logical.
Oh
Go ahead.
My God, I got it.
Did Ryan just have a breakthrough?
I gotta take 5, everybody. That was too big. Love you. That was amazing.
Let me hear it, Ryan. Let me hear it.
Yeah, because, oh, man, like, the issues and the challenges of trusting people have validating stories. Like, how much do I trust them? Like, I forgive you for losing my golf bag that my grandparents gave me, and now they passed on. That's all I had. And now I'm supposed to trust you, little brother? I love you, but you're on your own, dude. And now it's like, no, I get to trust you how you are with what and it's like, oh, I can do that because it's not that much work. It's like, I can trust you with this or that, or, dude.
Yeah, have you ever lent somebody money and they don't pay back? What do you get, Malisha? Did you fix your technical difficulties?
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm like, no, I'm like, wait a moment. Anyway, wow. So I can relate to Ryan. My first time dealing with someone, as you said, I felt like not imposter syndrome, but my mother-in-law, she's an alcoholic. And, I feel like I never grew up around that stuff, so I don't know what it's like to be around someone that, constantly lies and has, addictive personality. I feel like they have to take accountability. And, I learned in the process because I had to get treated, psychologically because I would attend these groups and I'm like, how do I deal with this person? They constantly lie. And, you kind of learn the pattern. It's all about pattern. And you can even tell, like, almost when you speak to her, okay, oh boy, here she goes again. She says she stopped drinking, and you could hear it in her voice. No accountability. And I told my husband, you have to, because he's dealt with it throughout his life, right? And I feel like one side, he wants his mom so bad to be normal, and we just can't get it there. So I said, what I've learned in my life is you have to hit rock bottom to realize that, and again, it comes to accountability. You have to say, shit, I can't do the work if I'm not going to do it for myself. Basically saying, I can't do it for anyone else. I have to do it for myself. Take full accountability again. I have to want to put in the work. You know, and like Bilinda said before, you know, you have people that trigger. Back when I was young with my ex-husband, he triggered me in the worst way. And I was a young girl, so I didn't know how to react, again, because I never dealt with someone of such. And then as I got older, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to take this. And it made me so sour. It's just like, okay. And then I had, you know, again, an aha moment where I said, okay, Malisha, you have to put yourself in check. Don't let people trigger you, you know? And that's what I learned. I learned to like kind of say, okay, well, you want to trigger? I'm going to let you speak to yourself. Have an argument with yourself, because I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to, I love you. Bye. That's it. And then, you know, again, with Sasha as well, I relate to you with that one toxic family member. I'm dealing with that right now with my brother. Unfortunately, he got himself into steroids, taking steroids. And now he's going through this process where he's like, negative. And I'm like, oh, I can't do this. You know, I'm like, brother, I'm here for you. I love you, but you need help. You know, and he's at such a good place in his life, but psychologically he's not. So I think it boils down to accountability, you know, taking accountability for your actions and, you know, trying to give someone that positive reinforcement. Hey, I'm here, but if you're going to be toxic, no. Talk about the sun, the moon, the stars, we'll connect there. But, you know, and sometimes it's just like, it's unbearable. You know, what do you do? What do you say? And at that point...
Wow.
I completely agree. It is unbearable. It just does something to your personal energy.
It sucks the life out of you.
It sucks the life out of you. And it's not a nice feeling. You feel pain. It's a disgusting feeling. So I'm I'm literally going to do this. Whenever I come across this person, either I'm going to do what Bilinda said, try to reframe and say, hey, this is what we're going to talk about, or I'm going to walk away. I'm just going to cut that shit off like from the jump, because I'm not going to allow anybody to get me to a place that I don't like being. So thank you guys.
Especially if you've done so much work on yourself to get to that point. Like, I wrote a book, and I could tell you recently I had a trigger. My book was published in December. My ex-husband found out about it now. I went under like M. Christopher. I didn't mention his name, but I did mention a pivotal point in my life that I was in my 20s. I'm like, it was out of a movie, the scene that had happened, that I had experienced. And he was like, oh, I'm going to get you for defamation of character. And I'm like, go ahead. There's no relation. No one knows I'm married to you. And was a big person in the music industry. And, you know, I was like, go ahead. And I'm like, you think you scare me? You no longer scare me. At one time, I would fear for my life. Every thought, or not even every thought, everything that came out of his mouth would trigger me to be scared. And I said, you know what? Through this, you're not going to do that to me anymore. So I said, go ahead. Do what you have to do. And he backed off, you know. And again, he's 10 years older than me, and he thought that he still had that pull. And I'm like, you know what? I'm so protected right now. Like, I have my husband who is my protector, you know. And, you know, I've gone through so much that I said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to let anyone harm me or mess up my day. And I always explain this to people. You know, sometimes we get those people, whether it's the DMV, whether it's customer service, you know, sometimes we have these moments where, okay, we want a bill fixed, or you're at the store and they're not moving fast enough, or, you know, they have an attitude, you know, and I always try to put myself in their place and say, you know, maybe they had a bad day, you know, maybe they're going through something so severe that we don't know. And how you treat a person could really make an impact on someone's life. You know, they can go home that day, and because you gave them a hard time, God forbid, they go and they do something harmful to someone else, or they do something harmful to themselves. And it brings me to a movie I just saw recently. It's called Straw on Netflix. It's Tyler Perry. Wow. If you haven't watched it, watch it. It is so strong, so powerful. I was in tears from the beginning to the end. It's just a crazy movie. Very impactful.
Wow.
But, yeah. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
This podcast is brought to you by Tyler Perry on Netflix. Watch it today. It is also brought to you by Emotional Damage. Get it now on Amazon. This is a great author, Josias Jr. You can look up this author. He also has another title called Proximity is Power, because proximity is power. And that's a perfect segue to talk about, which is like basically what we're talking about here. It's like, well, how do I place boundaries on these people that trigger us? And on the other side of the coin, Belinda, like you said, sometimes it's good for people to trigger us, because then like we're able to point these things out, which is actually a healthier thing. When we're like, do we want to be safe, like, or do we want to be like, do we want to get hurt, and then learn from that, and then also like get rid of that thing. So, but boundaries, how do you place boundaries? Well, here's the formula. Some people you can spend 5 minutes with, and some people you can spend 5 years with. Love your family, pick your peer group. Sometimes, like, let's say right here, we're spending about an hour, 90 minutes together, We have other stuff to do, right? However, we could probably spend a day together just talking about this, like a whole day, like 8 hours, 9 hours. But there are some people, like Sasha said earlier, some people you should limit your time with those people, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You can still love them. You don't have to hate them, but because you're trusting them to be who they are, that you should not spend over a certain amount of time with them, unless you're ready to get triggered. If you're ready to get triggered. And then here's another perspective, a reframe. Let's think of these people like a gym. It's like an emotional gym to deal with your emotional damage.
I just spent, we had Bloomfest on Saturday.
Yes.
And almost 15 hours. We had people live in the room. We had people on the Zoom. I mean, there's none of the drama going on. You don't have people in the chat complaining about, when there wasn't really anything to complain about because it was also magical. But there was a sound issue when we did a test previous to this. We did a 3-hour test. We gave away that workshop to people. And we had a challenge with the sound the entire time. And Demolari was in Florida. He took over, no problem. And he commented on that. He said, I've been in a lot of environments and people will complain, but we don't have that. And that's because the tribe that I have been fortunate enough to attract into my life after a lot of work, they're not that type of person. Now, if I was doing something, if this was 15 years ago and I decided I'm going to do an event, it would have been very different. As a matter of fact, I used to lead groups around sexual abuse. These are people that are just in the beginning of stages, most of the time, working on themselves. That environment, it's very dark. It's really painful, the energy, and lots of complaining, lots of anger, of frustration, all of that. And it's not to say that the majority of women, because of the statistics that were on the Zoom or in person with me, there's a likely chance that they've had an experience around sexual abuse. I have. They're not living in that old story anymore. And so the energy that's showing up is so different. We create our own boundaries. I know that there are people that are my family. I love them so much. And I decide how much time will I spend with that person. And it's not about, oh, I got to tell you, here are my boundaries. I need you to do this. You can't talk like this. You can't show up like this. You got to wear this, blah, blah, blah. That's the old version of what I thought boundaries are. And it's taking care of us. These are my boundaries for me. And if I don't take care of myself, then I get to learn some stuff. It's fantastic.
Wow, I love that. And you can get sucked into that energy so quickly because it's like, oh, well, let me be the victim too. And then that's a great segue to start wrapping up here with this. Most people aren't trapped by circumstances. They're trapped by their story. And their story isn't new. It's old. It's rehearsed, memorized, automatic. I think, Belinda, I think you said this the other day, where like you change your story about what happened to you, and you don't tell your story anymore because you don't want to live in that story anymore. And so I always mess up. People like me don't get that kind of love. I'm just not good with money. Every time I try, it falls apart. That's the number 9 loop. Not just repeating behavior, but you're repeating narration. And as long as you're living the old story, you can't write a new result. So breakthrough begins when you stop arguing for your past, and when you hear the story mid-sentence and go, wait, this isn't the truth. This is just familiar. Thoughts. Let's start closing down. Let's thoughts on this, and then let's start putting it all together and close out. Familiar. It's family. Ryan, what's up, man? I haven't heard from you in a little bit. What's going on, man? You got what's familiar to you? What's familiar?
What's familiar in the world of Ryan Koenig? Yeah, can you like reframe that question or like a vowel? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay, so we're bringing it back to the beginning, right? So we spoke.
Of life or this convo?
Oh, well, we're bringing back the conversation to the beginning of the conversation
okay, cool.
where we're back. Yeah, so Most people aren't trapped by their circumstances, they're trapped by their story. And the story is not old. I mean, it's not new, it's old. It's the same story. And then we just say, for example, like when I told you guys in the previous call that like I got rejected when I was in like 3rd grade. That's not a new story. That's old, but it's automatic. I know how to say it. It's familiar, you know? And if I keep identifying myself with that story and the emotional damage that it gave me, then I'm never gonna be able to break through and move on from that trigger or that, you know, like that loop per se. So we're back to number 9. We're not just repeating the behavior. We're narrating the same thing over and over.
Yeah. So Kaylee Graciano was my 3rd grade rejection, by the way.
Kayla?
Kaylee Graciano.
Kaylee?
Yeah, Kaylee with a K. She was the one, so I thought. But I was most familiar. It's so tough because like the story is old, like my fear of heights and flying, but the emotions make it so colorful and so real that it doesn't feel like it happened. Just working with that PTSD that we all go through, whatever the story is. It's most familiar. There's been many, I've been so blessed many times to have opportunity to change part of my identity that scared the absolute deep out of me. I wasn't ready. And so I had the opportunity to come around later, life's greatest teachers, to give us a level we can accept it and move on. I wasn't ready to leave the marriage. It was all I knew. I wasn't ready to leave Mormon. That was my tribe. Man, that took me 3 years of severe anxiety and depression and suicidal feelings. Who's God? What does life look like? Without this teaching that's so ingrained with me, and then we fulfill the ultimate paradox: the less we know and the less rules we live by, the more freedom, love, and joy that we have in our life, you know? And so familiarity is parts of it I absolutely need and I won't let go of, because it is how I walk, how I drive, how I get through life. But then the old stories that we're really talking about that's limiting us, more that we challenge those by the questions that we ask and reaching out to amazing people like yourselves, like that's how we realize that familiarity maybe isn't our friend. Maybe I want something else to be more familiar that serves me a little bit better. You know?
The Mormons. I have some Mormons texting me like every month or two, and they always like, Josias, how you doing? You know, and you know, sometimes I write back to them or whatever, but I don't want to get on the phone with them.
It's a commitment.
Yeah, they're really hard closer. They're really good in sales. Like I think Mormons would like thrive in the business world because they're so good. Like they're so sold on the.
A lot too.
Yeah. So, but now you're not going to heaven because you left them.
Well, I know. It's tough. I'll have to hang out with you guys.
Okay. All right, Bilinda, Sasha.
Yes. So the story that is very familiar for me is the old story of, and I would say it ran 85% of my life. I literally just got over this yesterday. I'm serious.
Whoa.
You are a friendless loser. No one's ever going to love you. You'll never have friends. The whole storyline, the familiar storyline was you will never have friends. You're going to be lonely. This old storyline kept me as a hermit in my house for years. I literally never went to my high school graduation, no reunions, nothing. Like I never did anything because of this story that ran. And like I remember like for about 5 years or about 10 or so years in my 20s, I was trying to find a cure for social anxiety. So I would do any and everything, like Reiki healing, chronic healing. And in my search to find the cure for social anxiety is how I've developed all these different skills to help other people, because I'm recognizing the old versions of myself in these people. But anyway, me here now, I realize that I'm dope as hell. And I am the party. Like wherever I go, people naturally gravitate towards me because I bring my energy. And I wish I figured this out 10 years ago, but it's probably a blessing that I didn't, because I don't think I'd be able to help as much as I do now. So it had value. So it was a blessing.
Bliss. So much bliss. And I think I want to end it with this, guys. Let's see, because we have all these old stories, right? But what if we could craft ideal future story? What would that look like? If you could craft your ideal future story, you know, that's just as interesting as your familiar old story. Just as interesting, and then could it become even just as familiar as your old story?
I would say that my old story was going on for decades, like 20 years of talk therapy. And 2018 had an incredible breakthrough. I have a breakthrough right now that my computer's going to die. I'm going to need to plug in. So really quick, the old story, it was meeting my needs. It was my identity. My old needs were certainty and significance. Old story was fantastic. I'm like, I'm the most significant person. And I was really modest, so that was part of the significance. And I got a lot of certainty with I would get a lot of attention from people because the story was so horrible. And now I'm living in my future self, being present still, but to live in a place where love and connection and contribution, growth, those are the top needs. Telling the story about being with people and watching them transform on Saturday was so touching. Like John Paul Crimi was there doing breath work, and I'm walking around looking at people thinking, I got to have this experience at a Tony event with the Dickens Process and Date with Destiny, and now I'm looking at these people. It just cracks your heart wide open, and that story is so much better, and so it serves the world and not myself.
Wow. And then here's a 3-step future story formula. So number 1, interrupt the old narrative. Number 2, choose the new identity. And number 3, anchor it with action. I think this is similar to what Tony does in the Dickens Process. So interrupt the old narrative. I used to believe that story kept me in survival, but now I see it for what it was, a loop, not a law. Number 2, the version of me I'm stepping into is they think like this, they respond like this, they move like this. And number 3, anchor it with action. So today I'm going to act in alignment with that new story, not perfectly, but intentionally. Old story is I used to burn out when I try to be consistent. New story, I used to believe consistency wasn't for me, but I was confusing burnout with discipline. Now I move with rhythm, not pressure. I'm consistent because I've simplified what matters. Sasha or Ryan, old story, new story.
Okay, old story. Old story, you are a friendless loser, nobody likes you. New story, you're a badass bitch, you are the life of the party, and allowing yourself to shine gives other people permission.
Can you grab the air? Can you grab the air and say, I'm a badass bitch?
That's it.
Nice. Ryan, old story, new story.
Old story was that in order for me to feel like I was in control, I needed an option to leave. And the new story is that in order for me to feel control, I don't know yet. I haven't gotten there. But that's what I'm working on, and the answer's on its way.
If you had the answer though, if you had it like it was like, what would it be?
Yeah, if I did know.
Yeah, if you did know. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, so if in order for me to feel like control, the truth is that I would break. In order for me to feel.
Or where would it be? Where would the answer be?
In my heart.
Damn. What does your heart tell you?
My heart tells me. So in order for me to feel like I'm in control, I need to just.
Whoa.
and then my ego, my head's like, what does it mean to just be?
You don't have to figure it out. I don't think.
You just be. You just be.
Yeah. A, B, C, D, E. Who the fuck cares? Just be. Just.
Got 26 to choose from. Yeah, definitely.
Whoa, that's powerful. We just had a breakthrough here. Malisha, old story, new story.
Old story is not to tolerate, I guess, certain things, and again, your past doesn't define you, and never settle for anything less than you deserve.
Bilinda, old story, new story.
So the most recent old story is I don't have time for certain things. However, I came onto your thing accidentally. Jeff just pulled me in. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I was being recorded. We were just being funny and silly. And I loved the interaction so much that I make this a priority. Like, I have things I gotta do. We got stuff to do, right? All of us. I choose to be in this space because I'm getting all my needs met, right? So I love this so much. And how can I put that into other areas where I'm like, well, I don't have time to do that. I have 90 minutes to hang out with you guys, right?
Yeah, you do. Exactly. Like I sent the recording of this to one of my friends, like one of my best friends in Mexico, and then she was like, "Oh well, 60 minutes, an hour, I don't have time for that." And I'm like, "You spend most of your fucking day watching reruns on like you're watching TV." Like she's like 30, and then she lives in like a house like by on a mountain on the water, and she spends all her times like by the balcony watching like TV shows. That's all she does. And then just like she doesn't have 60 minutes. And I'm like, all right, never mind. But yeah, so it just reminded me of that trigger, emotional damage.
Tell people to just show up for sake, hey, can you come on for 15 minutes, chat with us, and you can go. And they'll want to stay.
Yeah, well, I was just that's true. So tell us about Bloomfest, Bilinda. Tell us about Bloomfest, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, so Bloomfest was absolutely fantastic. I'm super blessed that I have manifested. I've worked at manifesting the life that I want, the people that I want around me. And I'm really good friends with Mark Chin, who's Tony Robbins' DJ. He's actually downstairs in my house right now. And he's just a great person. We connected through playing games. Like, we love playing games. So, and he has told me all along, he's like, you want this person on your stage? Call him. It's like, call Master Co. Call John Paul Crimi, call Davida from Five Rhythms. These are all people that have been on Tony's stage. He's like, anybody you want. He's like, you can have whoever Tony has, you can have. And it doesn't mean I need to copy Tony, right? And I was like, why do you believe in me like this? This doesn't make sense to me. He's like, because you're doing something that you're helping people change their lives. I believe in you. And so sure enough, like I had calls with different people, but the Master call, that was a little challenging. Have the call with him, and he's telling me that he's coming, and I get off that call, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to vomit. It was the strangest reaction. Like, I thought I would be jumping up and down. Instead, I'm like, I need to throw up right now. But he came. John Paul Crimi came. Ryan was there. He was our stage manager. I had, we have a crew of about 21 people that show up because they want to be supportive. And then all of the speakers, everything lined up. There was some challenges with someone couldn't show up, and we navigated through that like, we're bosses, right? And it was it was spectacular, fantastic, extraordinary, transformational, everything that I could dream of. We did it live in Nashville. This time was virtual. And one of the biggest takeaways is I'm a giver. I love giving to people. And so I made this event $97, and Mark said to me, must charge more money. And then I realized if I see something for $97 with this lineup, I think, oh, they're trying to sell me something. I'm not really going to get anything. It's too inexpensive. So I had some beliefs around that. So Mark's like, no, next event, live, and we're going to give it the value to the people and give the value to yourself. So that was a huge takeaway, because I want to change the world. I'm not changing the world with like these little bits of money. We're getting billions in here, and really take massive action to change people's lives all over the planet. And we had people all over the country, all over the world coming into that space, and we want it to be much more impactful with a lot more people. So if there was going to be one thing that I could make even better, it would be the amount of attendees, and that's getting the word out there. Because, but it really was fantastic to look at the people lying on the floor on our video and in front of us doing specifically John Paul Crimi's breath work. And I saw them reaching to grab things and put it in their heart. And Ryan, you experienced it, so I don't know if you want to share a little bit, but it was awesome.
Share a testimonial from Ryan.
Yeah, thanks. Just for a second. So I have gone through pretty crazy things. I'm not talking just psilocybin, my friend, but like medium work going on past the veil, and just spiritual beautiful experiences, and this is right up there. Probably the top three, where doing that breath work, breathing like that for 30 minutes was insane, and having just so many memories and feeling and seeing colors of emotion, trapped emotion, just being released from my body, and being able to connect with my friend that committed suicide, connect with loved ones on the other side. That's not everybody's experience by any means, but that was mine, and just remembering at the soul level that my body is just temporary, and that I get to use it and enjoy it, and because I'm here temporarily, I get to really figure out what it means to love, and to help people remember that they are loved. So I'm sold on JP Crimi, and that alone in the event was worth $1,000, absolutely. And so I'm so excited to be able to get people get their butts in the chair, and let us do the rest, and give themselves permission to love themselves their level. So
That's beautiful. When's the next one?
So the next one was going to be in September, and Mark said, so we can have it in September, and I think it would be even better if we waited. So it looks like it's going to be a January date, and I'll announce it. And I got to go around Tony Robbins' schedule, so.
Yeah, that's great. Cause
Just saying that is so fantastic. What's Tony doing?
yeah, he's doing that Germany UPW out there. So.
Yep. So it's to be announced.
Okay, so to close, the pattern may have brought you here, but the story you choose next is what shapes what's coming. And Bilinda or Ryan, would you please lead us in a send-off meditation, and so we can end the Zoom?
Belinda, that's all you, madam.
Oh, I thought you were gonna do it. I was really excited. Okay, all right. We'll make it super simple for everyone. You could do this with your eyes open or closed. Breathing in through your nose, following that breath down nice and slow, and imagining that breath is going right into your heart center, and holding the breath there, and thanking your heart for where it's guiding you and where it has guided you, and just allowing your jaw to open and loosen. And as you breathe out, imagine that breath is going right through the top of your head, and take the breath down as if it's coming through the top of your head, in through your nose, down into your heart, and holding it there again. And again, just allowing your mouth to open, loose jaw. Breathe out and follow that breath, and imagine with intention that it's going right out the top of your head. Keeping your eyes closed, or if you have them open, that's fine. Returning to your natural breath, not needing to do anything. You get to be who you are, right here, right now, because you're fucking amazing. And when you're ready, open your eyes, or open your eyes even wider.
Because you're fucking amazing. That's right. Let's say that. Let's say that to end. Because you're fucking amazing.
Fucking amazing.
Again, because you're fucking amazing.
Because you're fucking amazing.
One more time, because you're fucking amazing.
Because you're fucking amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for coming, and I'll see you guys next time.